Hi everyone, it's Abigail from the Creative Fix, and today I'm going to show you how to make this really fun, abstract, colorful background in Procreate on the iPad. So a quick rundown of the things we'll be using today. We will be using the iPad Pro 12.9 inch. I have the Apple Pencil 2nd generation. The app we will be using is Procreate, and this is the canvas size we'll be using in the app. And then the brushes are my 3D Procreate brushes, and those will be linked in the description below. So on a new blank canvas, we're going to be using one brush today. This is the Luster Monoline brush from my 3D set, and that's all we're going to need for this entire design. And as you can see here, we have, you can draw squiggles like this. You can also draw straight lines, same way you normally draw in Procreate. If you draw a line and you hold at the very end, you can have your line and move it around. And then if you tap with one finger, it'll be vertical and you can move it in 15 degree increments. Now that's perfectly fine, but what I want to do is make it a little bit more easy to draw straight lines perfectly every single time instead of having to do this hold, tap, make sure it's straight up and down, all that stuff. Okay, we can have it a little bit move a little bit faster. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the wrench tool and we're going to turn on our drawing guide, and then we're going to tap edit drawing guide, and then over here at the bottom you can see assisted drawing, and we're just going to toggle that on and tap done. Now every single time you draw, it'll be along the lines of this guide. So you can draw, off the lines right in the middle here, or you can draw on the lines, but either way, it's going to give you perfectly vertical or horizontal lines every single time. You can also make sure that you have your drawing assist turned on in your layer menu. It'll just say assisted right here. And another way to toggle that on and off is by tapping your layer. A menu will appear, and then you can tap drawing assist to turn that on or off. So right now it's on, we have that check mark, and we can also see right here underneath our layer. Okay, from here we're going to swipe to the left and tap duplicate, and we're going to do this quite a few times just because I want to put every single stroke on a separate layer, and that way you can move them independently of each other. So tapping on this bottom layer, we're going to go to our color menu, and I'm just going to tap this pink that I have right here, and you're just going to draw a stroke right there. And then you're going to go to the next layer and you're going to select your next color that you have and draw a straight line, and you're going to continue to do so with every single color on a separate layer. And you can just do a few colors, or you can do a bunch of colors. Really, it's up to you. You can do however many colors and layers as you'd like. And I've sped the video up here, but feel free to pause whenever you need. Okay, so you have placed all of your colors down in one go, and they're all on separate layers here, so you can actually delete the layers that you didn't need. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to go to this red layer right here, and I'm actually going to turn off the drawing guide now so I can see what I'm doing. And what I'm going to do is, with this red layer selected, I'm going to tap the move tool, and then I'm going to nudge it right here so it's right next to this pink layer. And if you can zoom in, you can see that, there's a few pixels where it's not connected. So to move it over just slightly, you're going to tap gently right across from that blue dot, so it moves perfectly horizontally there. And that way you don't have any spaces up here at the top. So what happens if I select this orange layer here and say I tap kind of, not perfectly across from that blue dot, you see how it moves up here, and then at the bottom there's white space. So you want to, when you want to move it perfectly vertical or horizontally, you're going to want to either tap across from that blue dot or from this middle blue dot up here if you were moving it vertical. But we're not doing that, so let me go back, and we are going to move this with snapping turned on. So snapping is turned on for this, so I can get it as close as I can flush to that previous layer, and then just tap like 4 or 5 times until you don't see that white space anymore. So we're going to continue to do that on all these layers. So select your next layer, move it over. You want to make sure you see that yellow line. That means it's perfectly centered between the top and the bottom, and you're not going to have any white space here. And then from there you can do your little nudge taps. Okay, so just keep doing that until all of these lines are right next to each other. So now all of your strokes are perfectly aligned, and there's no negative space between them. And from here, we're going to swipe to the right on every single layer to select them all, and then we're just going to tap group. And that way they're now all in a single group. And then from here, we're just gonna swipe to the left and tap duplicate. And then we're gonna flatten this new group. That way you only have to work with a single layer here instead of 9 layers. And you can keep this here at the bottom. We're just gonna toggle that off just in case this is our original. If anything happens to this layer and we need it again, we can come back to this group and duplicate it again. But for now, we're not gonna need it. But what we are gonna do is we're gonna duplicate the single layer about 3 times. That way you have 4 copies of this. And then from here, you're going to swipe to the right on all of those 4 layers so we can select them and move them together. Okay, and so what we're gonna do is, let me zoom out a little bit. Right now I have uniform selected, and what happens when I select uniform is if I move this, it's all gonna move in that same shape and with those same dimensions they have currently. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tap freeform, and that way when I move this blue dot over, it's gonna change the width, okay? So first, I'm actually gonna move this over, and I have snapping turned on, and I can see that I have my yellow lines intersecting, so they're perfectly in the corners. And then I'm gonna tap this blue dot, and I'm gonna drag it over, so now it's halfway on the canvas, okay? And then what we're gonna do is, because I have 4 copies, what I'm gonna need to do is I'm actually gonna unselect one so it stays halfway. It's gonna stay on the halfway mark. But the rest of these are we're gonna keep moving them. We're going to move them over again until it snaps to be halfway where they were. And the only reason we do that is because say I'm gonna turn these off and I move this one. If I didn't have an anchor of this halfway selection here and I just tried to move it all, you're never going to see where that quarter mark is on the canvas. So we left that one there originally, so we had something that these top 3 could snap to be in the middle of. And now because we have those, I can move this bottom one to also snap to match up with where they are now. Hopefully that makes sense, but let me know in the comments if you need a little bit more of an explanation on that. Okay, and so from there, what we're going to do is I'm going to take I'm going to turn off the top 2 layers, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the second layer here, and I'm just going to slide it over until it snaps to be next to this purple that we have. And then I think there might be a little bit of a white space. So I'm just going to do 2 taps, and then there shouldn't be any space there. So we're going to do that with all of these. And I'm going to turn this one on, and so it'll still be over here, and we're going to move it all the way over here, 2 taps. So there won't be any negative space there. And then same thing with this. We're gonna do, so it snaps, 2 taps, so there's no white space. Now, because we nudge them over slightly, there will be a little bit of white space here. So what we're gonna do is we're going to tap and pinch all of our layers together. And then because freeform is still selected, I'm just going to move it over ever so slightly. And I actually might turn off snapping so I can move it over just a hair bit more. And I'm gonna make sure that there's not white space on this side either. So let me find where my blue dot is. I'm just gonna move it over a little bit. And now we have our whole entire canvas filled with some pretty colorful lines. So here's the fun part. We're going to go over to our magic wand, which opens our adjustment menu, and we're gonna tap on glitch and then the wave effect down here. Okay, and what that does is when you drag to the right, you can start to see there's like kind of waves happening. And if you go all the way to 100%, there's none of the kind of extra glitchy stuff. So we're just gonna have all the way over waves. And then you can turn up the frequency, which determines how many waves will be on the page. So this is a bunch of waves if you're at 100%. I'm gonna turn it down. Let's go to like 65%, 66. And then amplitude determines how deep your wave is, right? So if I go like this, like if I show you, I'll show it with a little bit less frequency. That shows how deep your wave is. And then if you turn amplitude down, it's less intense. So if I turn my frequency back up to 65%, and then I turn my amplitude down to, let's say like 3%, or even to show off that 3D effect a little bit better, 1%. And it just determines also how many lines you have on your page. But for right now, this looks pretty good. So I have my frequency at 65, my amplitude at 1%, and then that's basically it. You have made a super fun, colorful, wavy, groovy background. And I really hope you enjoyed following this tutorial. If you recreate this, I would love to see it. Please tag me on Instagram at @thecreativebix, and thanks for watching.